now, unless you're going in the WNBA or becoming a tennis player, going on the tour, where do you get to really shine and have a platform to show not only your athletic skills, but your performance skills? And, I fully expect at some point we'll have the next Dwayne Johnson or John Cena,
I'm not gonna let you do this one. All right. It's so stupid. It's really so stupid. Come on. It's torture. Just gotta let it out. Just gotta let it out.
And we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Rights and Wrongs Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. Thank you for your time and tuning in. And how are we out there in good old podcasting land? Assumably, everyone's doing well. I would hope so. Of course, as we come to another weekly podcast, we have our episode of WOW to go over and talk about all the good things, I guess the good, the bad, the ugly that have taken place within the course of this particular episode. And I am getting to where my fingers are crossed. They are crossed, hoping that it is not drastically difficult to deal with in terms of show logic and all that good stuff. I mean, it's quite interesting when I really do these deep dives into WOW, as I have to find research beyond the broadcast of the program. So, you can imagine how far that goes. But let me not get ahead of myself. We will go on to the review of this episode, which was headlined by Ashley Blaze and Tara Strike taking on Best for Business. But before we get to that, get back to the normal order of things, and that is going to be talking about some of the things that's happening around the world of professional wrestling, or some professional wrestling adjacent news. So why don't we go off into the news, views, and updates. And I don't think there's any bigger thing to talk about at this point. And no, this is not specifically women's wrestling related, but there's a big story overall. And it does reflect in wrestling. But recently, the world has lost Ted Turner, very polarizing individual. Once upon a time known as Captain Outrageous. That's a real nickname that he earned because of despite the fact that he had made all this, money and whatnot. It was considered somewhat of a maverick, and I'm sure his accomplishments and the things that he's done has not gone unnoticed to the general public / the wrestling world out there. He was 87 when he passed. But, just a quick snapshot of the things he did. Launched the first 24-hour news network, which, at this point, I guess could be considered good or bad, because whereas it was a great thing for him, it also inspired Rupert Murdoch to produce Fox because they had a rivalry going on. So much to the point that at 65 years old, Ted Turner challenged Rupert Murdoch to a fight. Not verbally, a physical fight. And at that, I still think he could have took him. I never looked at Murdoch as looking at like a very physically imposing guy. I think Ted might have, if they had actually got down to it, he might have been able to take that. But in 76, he launched the Superstation, which I have lived, I moved outside of Atlanta now, but I lived in Atlanta for the bulk of my life. I was not aware that it was a Superstation, because being here, I didn't get the scope of where it went out to. It wasn't until many years later that friends of mine that came in from one in particular who came in from New York told me, it's like, no, I used to watch the Superstation when I went to go. I think he was went to Ohio or something like that. But the point being is that it broadcast further than the confines of Atlanta, Georgia. To me, it was just a local station, and I had no knowledge that it went anywhere beyond that, because it was just one that we picked up with an antenna. I don't even think when I first started looking at it that we had cable at all. And the jokes that people made later on about how that station got its traction are pretty much all true. Yeah, it got a lot of, it was old programming that was just kind of recycled on there, but the primary three that helped build it: Atlanta Braves baseball, Andy Griffith, Georgia Championship Wrestling. Those were the hallmarks. And even to this day, Turner Time, 5 minutes after the hour, which was a thing that he did just to separate himself. 5 minutes past the hour on every show that he had, which became the hallmark of course, the 605. That was when wrestling came on Saturday nights. That was obviously during the time that it was primarily owned by Crockett Promotions. It did go through its little ups and downs, but we're not going to litigate all of that right now. Turner, he got the rights to Braves baseball and Hawks basketball somewhere along the line, I think 2 years after he created the Superstation, which was originally WTCG, which is Turner Communications Group. He renamed it TBS, Turner Broadcasting System. So that was where the name that we know, even to this day, began. And, of course, after running Georgia Championship Wrestling, we all know the legend of, here he is, he purchases Georgia Championship Wrestling and renames it World Championship Wrestling. World Championship Wrestling was the name of the show initially. And then they just took the name of that show and applied it to the promotion once Turner got ownership of it. And it is not a secret, that place lost money year after year after year after year. But he was dedicated to it. The only problem was that he stuck the wrong people in charge all the time. Once it got once it became a product that was underneath the ownership of corporate America, that's when they started losing viewers and things like that, because it wasn't the same thing anymore. But why do we bring that up about Turner and this show right now? I mean, beyond the fact that he's passed. Well, obviously, without him, he is one of the major dominoes in the professional wrestling world. I'm sure that's not, that is not the legacy that he's going to have overall. If you look at him now, he's media mogul, philanthropist. Those are the titles that get tossed onto him. He's not really, that was just a blip in his resume, him owning WCW. But that domino, like I said, he is a major domino in what we have in wrestling today, because if there were not Ted Turner to buy that and stick by it, that is the other thing, and stick by it. He stuck by that thing for at least a good, he bought it in 87, and it probably started to turn profit 9 to 10 years later. But he he knew he owed somewhat of a debt to that, because when it was hot, when it was run by the actual wrestlers, it was one of those things that people tuned in for every week. But when they got it and turned it to WCW, of course, the famous story, he wanted to compete. Asked Bischoff, what do we got to do that? Well, we only got Saturday nights. They got prime time. It's not a fair fight. Okay, give him 2 hours every Monday night. Boom, there you go. The start of the Monday Night Wars. And for all intents and purposes, as much as wrestling has kind of migrated and changed in look and appearance and so on and so forth, wrestling has basically been the same across the board with all promotions for the last 20 to 30 years. And has mainly built off of that. Almost everything structurally that we do or see with professional wrestling now, regardless of whether they were in the Monday Night Wars or not. There's only one survivor of the Monday Night Wars, let's be honest, is WWE. But AEW, TNA, some of the other smaller promotions, even WoW. I know WoW wouldn't admit to it, but even WoW, they all have gotten the trickle-down effect of how wrestling is structured for TV out of that. Big monitors, ramp, walk down to the ring, backstage segments, so on and so forth. All that stuff pretty much comes out of that. So it is a loss. I know he, again, polarizing individual. Know he was controversial in certain points. But if we're going to take away, the whatever personal issues that may have existed, and we just apply it to the wrestling industry does owe Turner a huge debt of gratitude. Now, I will say also, not just that, but if you are an animation fan or what have you, the first ever 24-hour Cartoon Network, come on. And all of that just because he bought MGM's library, and they're like, I got all these cartoons here. What do I do with them? so he took the MGM lot and the Hanna-Barbera stuff and just made a network out of it. Then that grew until it didn't. They just ruined it. Now, I don't want to get off on that tangent, but it was fun for a little while. It was fun for a long while, actually. But rest in peace, Ted Turner. Wrestling would not be the same had he not been there. What else is happening out there? Natalya, aka Natty Neidhart, has expressed interest in launching a promotion much like Bloodsport. I think she's competed in the last 3. Has it been? Yeah. I want to say, yeah. I want to say that would be the amount of time she's done. Now, I'm sure her being a senior member and the WWE has allotted her a little bit of leeway. But the idea that she just was able to go out there and compete in it. And the last one that she just had, she was just in there with Shayna Baszler, which I do believe she won. It was, I only caught it once. Well, I'm not going to say it is. It was on YouTube. So you may be able to scan around and find that particular match. It is a somewhat slow-paced, but is worked very tight. Very tight. And if you were going to try to convince somebody that, hey, this is legitimate, Bloodsport is probably what you should show them. I know I've said that before, but it's pretty much the truth. There's no running around. There's no ropes. So they're not bouncing back and forth or running or, anything like that. Leapfrogs and coming out top, things that jaded individuals that are watching are going to poke holes in. Here, they're pretty much straight ground game. But anyway, the point being is that apparently the person that ran the Bloodsport, Josh Barnett, is not doing it anymore, or at least not doing it anymore for the time being. And that did put something in Neidhart's head, apparently, considering that she had been there for a while, and she, I guess, assumably doesn't want to see it kind of go away. And she was quoted as saying, "Why can't I do something like that? Why can't I be the first female promoter in WWE history to start something up of my own that's comparable to Bloodsport? Because what Bloodsport did for me and what Josh Barnett did for me in competing there and building something new and proving myself, Bloodsport for me is like, what do you have to prove? You've got to have a chip on your shoulder to do that and do it great." So that's an interesting thing. She does come from a promoter background. I know some of her uncles and her grandfather, obviously, Stu Hart, promoted. I don't know why she said she would be the first woman in WWE to do it. And I mean, I assume, and this is only my assumption, that if she is going to do a promotion that is probably going to get tagged WWE ID or probably exist under the WWE banner, perhaps. But if she just did it on her own, I mean, it would be fantastic. I don't know if she'd have, I guess she would make the time to do it. It probably would be a labor of love at that point. I would like to see it. I don't know if she has that much left in WWE to prove. I think that Natty Neidhart outside of the WWE is a far better thing than Natty Neidhart within it. In much the same way as Matt Cardona was a much better thing outside of WWE than within it. Like right now, they call him Matt Cardona, but he's Zack Ryder. He's just got a different name. He is not going to be anybody's main event there. I'm not even sure if he's been brought up in the last couple of weeks. But you get what I'm saying. That outside of WWE, Neidhart has been pretty solid and an attraction for wrestling fans. She's done this for a number of years. She's put on great matches. The last one I saw, I heard Reality of Wrestling, her and Promise Braxton. If you haven't seen that match, you should go find it. It's labeled under Reality Wrestling Heart and Soul, but they also had the match standing out separately. So again, if you did not have the opportunity to watch it before, then you should. But in any case, I think that'd be a great thing for them, as so long as the WWE just does not stick their nose in it, because technically speaking, they've already tried something like that with that Raw Underground thing. It was essentially like Raw's version of Bloodsport, and we don't want that, because for whatever reason, and as visually as good as it looked, it just isn't going to do well there. So I cannot remember if this conversation came up already or not. So if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But it needs to be pointed out that some of WOW's distribution platform have been removed. Or at least WOW on those distribution platforms have been removed. Pluto TV and Tubi. I know I talked about them not updating it anymore, but I've done so many of these in the last couple of weeks. I was like, I don't remember what I said. But I have no idea why those things are going, and they may not even have any say-so over it. But if you were not aware before, you should be aware now. The outlets that they existed on, they no longer exist on those outlets. I don't know how that works for them, and I know I probably said it before, I need to reach out and see if anybody has any sort of answer to that. Because it is one thing for them to remove it, but it sat for like a year with no updates whatsoever on Tubi. And I just find that so hard to believe. It's like, how is this not at least getting a new episode? And it's not like it was new by way of this is unique to Tubi TV. This is episodes they've already shot and aired in syndication and re-airing there. So it's not like they didn't have the content. Where did it go? Why did it stop? It's those things that make me question where their status is or where it lies. It's like that Fast channel that they had. That's one of the streaming. That's the little initials for their streaming thing. But it was like one of those streaming platforms that they had where it was like, wow, was launching his own 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week channel. That was in 2024. By 2025, it was done. I honestly question how much viewership that they get when I see things like that. Now they don't have to carry the burden of trying to have a channel on their own. They're hooked up with the NWA on their channel. Well, I'm not going to say their channel, on the wrestling channel. But I would say that if there's getting anybody on there at this point, it's probably NWA fans. And maybe they stick around for a while. Who knows? But at this point, I'm not sure whether WOW is the viewership magnet that some fans out there continue to believe is true. There are still people there that are like, oh man, well, WOW gets the same kind of viewership numbers as TNA and kind of close to AEW. It's like, show me where that's true. I've heard people say that even after the fact. Even when I said that I have not seen any of these ratings. Show me where that's true. WOW has stopped showing ratings one way or the other. I don't think that they went out their way like, hey, don't do this anymore, Nielsen. I cannot prove this, but I would say that is probably based on the fact that they don't track. And that is a thing. If it doesn't track, there will be no numbers. Which then makes you question if they don't have numbers. Let's just assume for a second that is true. That they are low enough to where Nielsen just simply does not track them. Because just as a side note, when I first started the podcast and I was getting the ratings, WrestleNomics, operated by, one of the operators, Brandon Thurston, was getting those numbers, and I would subscribe to that. I got the numbers and how they tracked against other wrestling promotions. Because he had it just laid out great. I mean, the viewership, how it tracked against other wrestling promotions that week. I mean, you can see in the initial stages, sure, there were times that it was above TNA. I doubt that now. I doubt that very seriously now. And the ones that hold on to the hope beyond hope that, they're getting just as good as everybody else. Like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. It's an interesting situation with them. And based on the statements told to me, and I will leave it at that this is operated off of a 5-year deal. This is coming on to year 5. I don't know, unless Jeanie Buss has a rabbit to pull out of her hat, what she could do to make this thing stay around. Speaking of Jeanie Buss, she was on an episode of her husband's podcast. If you don't know, she is now married to comedian / actor Jay Mohr. And it is titled Mohr Stories. If you're looking for that particular one, it's episode 497. And her thoughts on WoW and WoW's process are fascinating to me. The one thing that I've noticed when I do listen to her talk is that she is trained, or at least has trained herself, to hit the same talking points when talking about WoW, no matter who asks her that. And I was watching some of this, and I heard her repeat that there's no reason that we can't have our own John Cena or Dwayne Johnson. Maybe not in that order, but you get what I'm saying. And I was like, I clearly, she clearly does not understand how that works. You ain't getting that. Not in this structure, you're not. Those things just have to come along. And when you do have somebody that's capable of being that, you got to get in a platform to be able to be that person. I don't think WoW is capable of doing that for a number of reasons. One, I don't think that it would be a recognized talent. Two, their taping schedule screws that up. They would never be able to take advantage of anybody that showed any promise towards the audience, because it's taped and they just have to go off of, let's call it for what it is. In that environment, they're probably appealing to an audience of one, if not two at best. Got to make this good for David McClain, got to make this good for Selena Majors. And that's probably it. So if they don't see anything in somebody, then why would you expect that you would get your own John Cena or The Rock? Or I guess, Jane Cena or The Rockette. I don't know. It's like, how are you expecting that to take place? It just makes me feel like she is absolutely blind to that product. Now, she could be the Ted Turner of this situation and just funnel money into it until it actually makes something back. Now, Ted's case was a little different because he had a TV station. And even though it was losing money, it still provided the content for his station. It was his. If he didn't want it on there anymore, he could have got rid of it, but he wanted it, so it was there. WoW does not have his own station / network that they can operate within. That, hey, it doesn't matter how much money we lose because, I'm just going to keep throwing money at it anyway. I would think at some point somebody's going to say, look, you've thrown enough down this bottomless pit named WoW. It's time to move on. But we'll see. We will see. Like I said, by this time next season, we will probably start to very likely discover what other changes potentially exist in WoW's future. One of the legendary wrestlers out there has unfortunately been hospitalized. It has been reported that not Leilani. Leilani Kai was the one that reported it. Judy Martin. That's what I couldn't get her name out, but Judy Martin had to have a little hospital stay there. Hopefully she's doing well. Of course, longtime fans would know Judy Martin and Leilani Kai as the Glamour Girls. They were the long-running tag team champions in the WWE before they reinstituted the tag team championships a couple of years ago. So, with fingers crossed, good vibes, all that good stuff, that she is going to do well, pull through whatever it is that is ailing her. But also, outside of WWE, the Glam Girls took their act to another wrestling promotion. They took it to LPWA, the Ladies Professional Wrestling Association. I mean, definitely not Glow. They were like the mirror opposite of Glow. If Glow was all sports entertainment, LPWA was more grounded professional wrestling. So I certainly don't want to get those two confused or mixed up or whatever. But yeah, with the best wishes to her and pulling through. And that's largely what's going on in the world. Other than that, you've got some WWE talents who we all know that we've heard the releases, but we also have some that are now unbranded, which they're still working there. They're just not associated with any particular brand at this moment. And that includes the current women's tag team champions, Paige and Brie Bella. Actually, both of the Bella twins, because Nikki is in that as well, and AJ Lee. You all remember AJ Lee? The one that Wild wasted when they had a chance to try to do something with her. Yeah, I know. I was told that, well, she didn't want to do anything. She didn't want to help out. She didn't believe in women's empowerment. And this is what I was pretty much given. But I was also given the statement of she discovered pretty early on that this was David McLean's sandbox and she wasn't going to be able to do anything about it. So, as I stated then when I talked about AJ Mendez, I do believe that both of those things can be true. I think that she just lost whatever passion that she walked into that thing with, she just lost it. Because I agree. It is his playground. It is his sandbox. And as long as it's that, then, and he doesn't have any sort of repercussions as to the decisions that he makes, how or why would he ever change it? So there we are with that. Because there's one other thing that must be done before we go off into the review. Now, what is that thing, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. Apparently, those shirts that Best for Business had are never going to be released. Now, I will say, and I want to credit PW Hustle Zone, who is also maybe the one other person in all of YouTube that does a review on WoW. It's just the two of us. Which is hysterical. But yeah, it just feels like it's just the two of us, me and him. And go check him out if you get a chance. But within his podcast, and I have not confirmed this, he said that he heard that the names or the words that was on the shirt read badass bitches. Now that's what he reported. I cannot verify that, confirm it. It sounds as good as anything else. I have no idea. I don't have any connection to anybody that was out there that day that might have happened to see the shirts. But it did make me think, what could those shirts possibly have been? Well, I decided, we should just examine that just for a second. So, since I was not going to give up that information, I figured I'll do it for you. So here it is. We are going to go through 10 names that those shirts could have said, probably didn't, But WoW can't prove me wrong unless they come out and release what those shirts actually said. So we are going to go through our top 10 list. Are you ready? Well, then here we go. Number 10. Boo this man. Insert picture of David McClain here. Number 9. My coffee is worth more than WoW championships. Number 8. Timu's beautiful people. Number 7. We think WoW sucks too. Number 6. Boobs. Number 5. We thought a pair of boobs was a couple of dumb guys. See the commentary booth. Number 4. This show and these shirts suck. Number 3. TK. We've got no problem doing jobs. Hire us. Number 2. No, seriously. Tony Khan, Triple H, anybody, please hire us. And number 1, as far as the list of top 10 things the shirts could have said, probably didn't, but WoW can't prove me wrong. Who booked this shit? There you have it, folks. Take your pick. One of those, any of those will work just as well. All things I'm pretty sure that would easily have wanted to been blurred out by David McClain. And, just aside, I'm just having fun with you, Nigel. Give me a break. I'm just teasing. Okay. Yeah, because I don't think he's a boob. Now that we got that out, let us go over to the actual review. But first, before we get into that, I'm going to take our traditional little pause here. Get some talking to talk. A little musical interlude, and then we come back. And it will be time for the full-on review. Stay tuned. Be right back.
Double wide to worldwide, baby. When I say double wide to worldwide, I mean it. Friday, Mobile, Alabama. I was at the Bullet Bob Armstrong Memorial Arena bringing all the Bobby-liciousness as the DCW Women's Champion. Saturday, Priceville, Alabama, New South in a tag team main event against TNA legend, Hall of Famer, ODB. Sunday, AWE Roar. I had some unfinished Bobbi business with Crystal Rose. So in that main event, we promised each other, and we promised each and every single fan, that we were going to beat the crap out of each other, and we delivered. What we didn't get to deliver on was to see who walks out the better woman, who gets to walk out with their arm raised. No, that opportunity was taken from us and the fans. My two ladies, Kelsey Reagan and Ravana Vane. And you know what? They ran out that ring real quick as soon as Crystal and I got to our feet. They ran out there real quick and still went on social media, made it all about themselves, declared themselves the thirst trap like a couple of influencers. Well, ladies, congratulations. Because even though I feel the way I feel about Crystal Rose, I'm sure I could speak for her and for myself when I say we have found two influences we do not want to be under. Now, Crystal, I don't know if this is done between us. I don't even know if you got 10 toes to stand on Bobbi business with me. But what I do know is that as long as the thirst trap is out there, and as long as there's any other girls who think the same way they do in the AWE locker room, I'm saying we set this aside. I'm saying May 17th at AWE, I have your back. You have my back. And we show these ladies that these pieces of white trash know how to whoop some ass. Bobby Thunder, I'll give it to you.
you're one tough bitch. And you want to know if the natural born legend can stand on Bobby business? Sunday at Roar 2, we beat the immortal hell out of each other. It was just like I said it was going to be. A massacre. And my God, was it not beautiful? But Bobby, we were robbed. We were robbed at the end to see who was going to come out on top. To see who was the better woman. And as far as those... You know what? You're so irrelevant. I don't even know what the hell your names are. That's not what's important here. You want to know if May 17th, AWE homegrown, I can stand on business? Last time I checked, I've got 10 fingers and I've got 10 toes. And you can bet that my single white ass will be there to protect your double white ass against any of those bitches in the locker room who want to be some kind of influence. I'll see you at homegrown, Bobby. And you other bitches, y'all can go get big.
And we are back. So now it is review time. And what do we have here? Well, let's get our opening slate. The opening slate for this episode was WoW episode 430. Frenemies is the title, the air date, May the 2nd, the chronological number 186. And it begins with the return to the positivity intro. Visually, this thing looks great. Song sucks, but it looks great. After we go from that, go into the show. McClane opens up talking about Terror Strike National Blaze situation with Best for Business. This recaps everything. It shows the security footage. I use that loosely. Of Miami Sweet Heat leaving the area. I wrote down, did this prove anything? And also, in quotation marks, another case of rock solid evidence. Now, this was supposed to be as the result of an investigation that WoW launched to try to find out who set the fire. And we're going to go and find the cameras and blah, 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 blah. which probably would have worked a lot better if they had had a camera that was actually aimed at the door or, something like that, opposed to the hallway. I mean, it just seems like a stupid thing to do. Now, far be it from me to poke holes in that when they're just already so big and obvious. But my whole deal was like, it's a hallway. So what? They were walking down there giggling and laughing. Now, I'm not saying within their storyline that they didn't do it, but that's not necessarily just there you see it, folks. There's the red, they are red-handed. You found them. We got it. Didn't he do this same thing when it was the other way around? I mean, he just went right off and blamed Miami Sweet Heat. It was the can of pink paint. They had to have done it. Lana Starr later on in this episode says something about defamation of character, or, we know our rights and et cetera, et cetera. Just for the sake of that alone, I'm like, you know what? I would actually agree with you. Like, you got on TV and completely threw us under the bus, blaming us for this thing, and it had nothing to do with it. And the only piece of evidence that you had was it was pink paint. Now the only evidence that you got is that they was walking down the hallway. I mean, what's going to be next for them? That they were just sitting around the corner, so they must have done it. Anyhow. Once we get past that, the next segment, Top Tier, comes out. Coach Campanelli cuts a promo on finding the weak link through a series of singles matches, beginning with Gloria Glitter. Candy Crush gives Coach lip about, didn't you lose too? I was surprised that happened. And of course, Coach like, I don't have to do anything. I'm the coach, but yes, I will participate as well or whatever. I guess that was fine, but it does make me feel like, okay, is this a sign of anything? Is this going to go anywhere? Is this going to be the first chink in the armor of the team? They've already lost the belts. But is this Candy Crush, I wouldn't say standing up to, but calling the coach out for being a part of the loss as much as they were a part of the loss? Which really she wasn't. I didn't really understand why she was going to go through this. If I was going to be like, hey, look, I'm getting rid of the weak link Glitty out of here. She was the only one that took the fall, and she was the one that caused it. Like, what else? What other, explanation do you need? How much more investigating into this cause do you have to do? And didn't we do this already? I could have swore this was, pretty much what happened like a year or so ago. Whereas, all right, we're going to all have our own little singles matches. And that's that. Didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, didn't cause any sort of change of pace or recycling or flipping around to the team or swapping to somebody out or none of that. It just happened and it went away. And then it was pointed out to me in one of the comments on one of the podcasts that this also happened with Exile. I'm going to make everybody fight so we can see who's the best here. I was like, okay, so we're recycling a twice recycled thing. Okay. As this is going on, you hear somebody out in the crowd trying to start a what chant. I'm glad it didn't work. Let me start with that. Because that what chant is annoying. And I wish it would have just died off 20 years ago. Somehow this thing is still lingering. But it also exposes, like, a lot of those fans out there are not wrestling fans. It's an annoying chant, don't get me wrong. But I do know that if it was an all wrestling crowd, they probably would have joined in with it. Those are just people that's watching the show. And They probably had no idea what this clown out there was attempting to do. What? I mean, he wasn't loud, but it's there. And good that it didn't catch, not just because it's annoying. It might have thrown them off. I'm sure that they have not had to deal with that. And by they, I mean the WoW talent that hasn't been outside of a wrestling ring, outside of WoW. Probably haven't had to bother with that, had to deal with it at all. Would they be able to flip it and change? Would Campanelli be able to get her pacing back if the crowd started jacking around and doing stuff like that? Who knows? Because they haven't been put in that situation yet. But if they're around and if they do what Jeanie Buss wants and if they do what Dave McClain wants, which, you know, that might be a far cry. But if they do happen to make these things where we're going to tour, wow. They better be ready for things like that. The next segment, the Enlightened, Samantha Smart, and the Classmaster, taking on Monsters in Metal for the Trios Championships. I talked about this in the preview of the last show that I reviewed, and I said then, still felt like watching this. This is not a good scenario for either team. B, there just was no reason to put this thing in here. And C, it just shows me that everything I said about those trios championships is true. There is no division for this. There's almost no one for them to take. You've got this group, the Enlightened, who was supposed to be this new menacing faction. Now, they've already lost clean in a tag match. But okay, we'll move on from that. Now we're going into a trios match. And like I said, neither one of those outcomes are really favorable. If Monsters in Metal loses, it would be a case of the first time that they step in the ring with somebody else other than top tier, they lost the championships. So that wouldn't do them any good. But then you look at the Enlightened on the other side of that. Again, they're supposed to be this new, imposing, intimidating faction. But you can't do that when you're losing. So where's the middle ground there? Unless they were just going to turn it into a big schmoz and just fight and everybody get disqualified, there really was nowhere for them to go without sacrificing one or the other. And that's pretty much what happened. While this match is starting up, McClain talks about the a signing with Monsters in Metal out. So all the fans came out to see them when they was out signing, wherever they were. Again, I am not doubting that these things took place. But what is the problem with getting a camera there? What is the problem with having somebody there to document these alleged situations that show WoW as being bigger deals and bigger stars? What is the problem here with that? Even if you had to get just somebody, buy this person a tripod or a gimbal and go on out there with this cell phone and record it. You ain't got to have it 2 and 3 hours worth of footage, but you do need to have enough just to validate the statement. It's like everything that they do that's supposed to show them as being these big stars and people know them and when top tier showed up at the hockey game, the entire arena booed. Okay, well, again, maybe that happened. Why am I not seeing it? It would only make them into bigger stars, or at least attempt to. This situation is the same thing. If they had the fans that he's talking about, why not have a camera there to record that? So that it's not just his word. You can see this for yourself. But anytime these things take place, it's like they never, ever bother with cameras or, to document the occasion or any of that. It's just like, oh, yeah, this happened. Take my word for it. And I'm sorry to say, I don't think that people that exist outside of the wild bubble will take his word for that. Anyhow, just a side thought. In the course of this, Zane starts talking about how the previous show ended. Katie Marie makes the announcement of, giving again, her new kind of announced style for these title matches. It begins showing how Chainsaw is essentially stronger than the Enlightened. I mean, when they walk out there, it is a small moment. But there was like a second there where they almost looked uncomfortable with Chainsaw walking through. I thought they were supposed to be the big intimidating thing. What happened to them being, oh, this is creepy? What happened to that? But then somebody else comes along and then they're like, oh my God, that. I don't know what they were trying to do with the Enlightened. But whatever it is, it ain't working. And let's call it for what it is. They're just another group now. They're just another faction on that roster. And the only person on there that they affect by any significant means is Santana Garrett, which only makes her just look worse. Because seemingly everybody else has, either backup or is able to handle them. So within the course of this, as the match progresses, Dave McClain makes a 40-year-old comparison with Chainsaw and William the Fridge Perry. Number 72, Chicago Bears. Yes, I remember the Fridge. But that was 40 years ago, and he made this comparison as if it would just happen yesterday. And look, I'm not going to knock him because I get it. It's probably one of the first things that popped in his mind, but I don't know. If I'm in that editing booth, I might say, you know what, just take that out. Just remove that. Talking about him as a point of large nimbleness is probably going to fly over the heads of several viewers, especially his new ones. They probably have a goddamn clue who the Fridge is. And yes, he was a big thing, figuratively and literally, at the time. I had a Fridge action figure, if you could believe that. They made a G.I. Joe action figure of the Fridge. You had to send off some stuff to get it. Couldn't buy it in the store, but I got one. Of course, they muscled him up. They didn't make him into a big, heavy dude. But yeah, I had one of those. He was a big star for at least about a good year. Also dipped his toe in wrestling when he participated in WrestleMania 2. But I don't know how that comparison in this environment works. Probably should have had someone else. Anyhow, that's a minor point. Monsters and Metal had control of this match until the Classmaster hooked Daisy Lane's foot. And then we get the heat on Lane, as you would expect. You knew that the second they walked out there because Lane's the tiny one, and she is going to be the one that's going to get bounced around and take a beating for the team. Yeah, I'm sure it's a case of, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm fine with that. But as this carries on, this was not a shock that they were able to isolate her. While I was watching this, I began to question, what is Nova Sky supposed to be? I look back up at her profile. They essentially label her as a machine. And I'm like, I don't get any feeling of that whatsoever. I don't even know how she would portray that. Was it really necessary to kind of play her up as something else, futuristic piece of technology or something like that? Was this really necessary? Because you're not getting anything out of her with that. I haven't heard her speak. And she certainly doesn't work like she's trying to build off on this persona that was assigned to her. She works like everybody else. She shows emotion like everybody else. She looks like she gets hurt like everybody else. So I don't know what this machine portion of Nova Sky is supposed to be. Lane is still willing to play dirty, which is good. Somebody put it, I think it was Mindful, put her in a chin lock. She just bit her to get out of it. I still like that she is willing to do that in order to survive and or win. After the bite, Zane asked who did it better, Tyson or Daisy, which was a stupid question. I mean, look, I know he's got to put over the bite, but Tyson took off a piece of man's ear, so I'm going to stick with him on that one. So anyway, fast forward to the end, we get Chainsaw coming back in, and she, after the ring is cleared out, and by the way, I don't know if I've established which members of the Enlightened were in this match. It was Nova Sky, Dr. Pandemonium, and Miranda the Mindful. My wonderful little PBS young lady. But so they clear out the ring, and it's brought up like, well, you'll never be able to take her down by herself, her being Chainsaw. Nova Sky tries to give her a DDT, and it ain't working. Pandemonium comes in, and they double DDT her. But they're so apparently tired and worn out or whatever after they do this, neither one of them can even attempt to take advantage of it and try to pin her. So here comes Samantha Smart for some reason. She's got her book. I'm not sure what the ref was doing at this point. She raises the book to get ready to smack Chainsaw, but Chainsaw gets up and scares Samantha Smart right out of the ring. Then after that, Nova Sky is hooked up by Monsters of Metal, and boom, nail in the coffin, 1, 2, 3. I wrote, is this team still supposed to be threatening? The team being the Enlightened. Are they still supposed to be threatening? They've lost their tag match. They've lost their trios match. They ran when Destiny Diesel came out there with a trash can. They looked concerned and or had fear when Chainsaw just walked by. Am I supposed to still feel like they are some sort of intimidating faction? Forget whether it can intimidate you personally. But in their universe, why would I believe that they are some sort of scary, threatening thing? For what reason? And that goes back to what I said earlier. The only person that they seem capable of really having their way with is Santana Garrett. She seems like she's the only one that they're able to just bully around and get what they want out of her. Everybody else is showing no fear. And outside of maybe the first 2 matches, they're not losing anymore. Whatever heat this team might have had, that is long gone. Long gone. And this is exactly why I say that WoW has not now, nor ever, shown signs of being capable of making a star. Because they got to keep everybody pretty much right at around the same level. But they have not shown me that they can make anybody a star, much less this group. So my desire to see them lose in an ideal setting, like they were going after Santana Garrett, and she couldn't get over him. And the day that she actually did it, you know, maybe you would have popped. If she fought hard and got through it and, you know, overcame the odds, you might have popped. You may still pop on a minor level, but it ain't going to be what it could be. Why? Because they've already shown that this team can lose. They're not indestructible. They can bite the bullet. And that's what this entire thing has missed, or is missing now. They could have did that, but it's too late. That ship has sailed, and they've moved on. So I wrote down, how is this a good thing for the Enlightened? And then the double arm DDT, I mean not double arm, but the double DDT that Sky and Pandemonium gave to Chainsaw meant little to nothing. You can somewhat pass that off of it being Chainsaw. She's just indestructible. I mean, that's the only other thing that you can get. But this was, it wasn't bad. It's just, you know, the narrative of this, like, why are the Enlightened losing? And more importantly than that, why were they even in the ring with these people? Why are they in the ring with Monsters of Metal? They needed somebody else to come in there and beat, but that they probably didn't have much option. And heaven forbid that they actually admit that there's no trios division. That is just these two teams. And the Enlightened just happened to be one of them that came around. Anyhow, moving on. Next segment. Gloria Glitter with Top Tier versus Xena Phoenix. Now, to the credit of Top Tier in this scenario, even though they came out with Glitter, no one intervened. So I didn't really have an issue with this. Even if she did, I wouldn't have had an issue with Coach Campanelli doing it. But because it's her trying to find out who's the weak link and what they can do on their own, this was probably the best time for her to go and sit at the commentating booth without it being distracting or otherwise disrupting the story. All the other times it just feels like, well, hey guys, they got to sit down over here. It just feels like that. But here, no, I thought that it made sense to what was going on. Campanelli didn't want to help her. You do it on your own. So I thought that was a fair touch. When the team comes out, then Phoenix comes out, she comes out with an obvious limp. Campanelli's on commentary already. And without any rhyme, reason, explanation, she's got this limp, which is very obvious. My big question that I had watching, I was like, okay, after I saw her get to the ring, I said, they're obviously not going to bring up how this happened because he is acting like he doesn't know. But I also will assume that we may not ever hear what happened to her leg. I hope we do. I hope they turn around and say, oh, yeah, you know, hey, she was attacked in the back or she worked out to her something. Something. Because right now it's just an inexplicable injury. That wasn't really going anywhere. And it's not doing anything in terms of a plot. It helped the match. That was about it. Campanelli has to correct McLean immediately when she's on commentary. When he says, well, you're trying to find the missing link. And she has to correct him and said the weakest link. McLean, weakest link. So you got your once weekly fuck up by David McLean. McClain asks if she's bringing someone in. He's pretty much like, you're gonna swap somebody. He's firing out these scenarios, which Campanelli did not confirm or deny. Glitter starts attacking. I shouldn't say that. It actually starts off with Phoenix. Phoenix does well up until she tries to go for a snap suplex, but the stomp that she utilizes to do the snap jars the knee, and she has to let her go. Now she's fighting in worse pain. I will still say I don't know how her psychology of a match happens to be, but she is, in terms of execution, pretty damn good. You wouldn't have known that necessarily here, but she's pretty good. So after that, this is when Glitter starts attacking the bad leg, and Campanelli's giving her credit for what she's doing. It's like she's assessing her opponent's weakness and going after that. Yay. Glitter wins this in short order. She applies a Texas Cloverleaf for the submission, and Xena Phoenix taps out, which I was shocked about. I was like, I thought she was supposed to be one of the next big stars. During the course of this match, she's talking about how she's going to be a future WoW champion. She's going to be the future. She's destined to win a WoW championship. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that ain't happening. That wasn't, the case here. After the match, when Glitter scores her victory, Campanelli has an after-match promo. And surprisingly, Campanelli said it wasn't the type of match that she wanted. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier, that she was looking to test her girls. And this wasn't what she wanted out. She wanted them to take on opponents that were at 100% so that she could really assess it. But she's like, okay, but at this point, you pass. So if I assume that there should be some sort of story that's coming from that. I mean, my first thought, if I was saying, okay, well, how would I tie this together? I mean, if it is unveiled that Glitter did something to get Phoenix hurt to give her the edge so she can win easily, that would be a nice touch. I don't know if that's what it is, but it might be a nice touch that she is so determined to make sure that she wins so she can stay part of the top tier for whatever reason that she might want to do that. That she found out who her opponent was on the call sheet and attacked them when they couldn't see it. And hurt her leg so that she can get the easy win. Now, will they do that? I don't know. But I'm just saying. So, she says it's fine. Campanelli does. And the coach says Crush is next up to prove herself. And Candy Crush is raring to go. She's like, I can do it. I wrote after this, will Xena Phoenix injury be explained, or is it going to be another one of those wild things that just kind of fades off into the ether? Fingers crossed. This gave Phoenix a partial out. Although I don't know if I would want her tapping. Like, there's no real shame in it. But I don't know if I want somebody that I'm placing as a top name to tap out for me just yet. The story of this was the injury, kind of. And they got on, they talked about how Glitter won in record time, which I'm going to have to dispute. Like, record time for what? For them? Or record time in general? Well, I guess I should narrow it down to record time for them being top tier, record time for someone in WoW, or a record time in wrestling, period. Well, we know it ain't a record time in wrestling, period. I think Kane has that record or something like that. If not him, King Kong Bundy is one of the people that beat somebody in less than 10 seconds. If it's a case of it being the fastest within WoW, well, then that also doesn't qualify because Scout Parker defeated Valentina Diamante. I want to say like a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. Like it was almost like a 3-move match. So I'm not even sure if Glitter has the record like this. I mean, they could make whatever narrative that they want. But I am almost positive that Parker is the actual holder of that record. And see, now there you go. Something that you can flaunt if you're going to have that type of thing. Have her flaunt that. I got the quickest win in WoW's entire history. And maybe there was another one out there. Who knows? But then the last option is the quickest time within the members of top tier. But I'm sure if that were the case, Candy Crush is going to try her damnedest to beat it. So that was Glitter and Phoenix. Fine, but it was short. Somebody in the room said Glitter is starting to look like the hot aunt. It's like it's not quite a mom, but it looks like the aunt that friends come over. It's like, hey, look at her, and that. This leads into another spot. It's the WoW spot. Same comments as before. It's a lot. It's very busy. It's a lot of stuff going on there. It looks great, but it's scrambled eggs. It's not, a clear message there, in my opinion. Next up was a video package of Best for Business, Blaze Strike, and Miami Sweet Heat. This is where the Heat were unveiled as put quotation marks around this, the persons that started the fire. And my note following that was, why exactly would Miami Sweet Heat need and or want to burn old outfits of Shore or Kai? And I get that they're trying to have this wraparound story and, okay, this same trick was played using our name and so we're going to rope this back around. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it's overly convoluted. It's just adding in shit for the sake of having it. They have nothing to gain off of that. And I've already made it, my point about it, that if I'm in the shoes of Miami Sweet Heat and somebody spray paints me in the eyes, and imagine they had nothing to do with, what do I care about trying to keep a secret from? I'm going to go beat them up. End of story. It doesn't require subterfuge. But here, for whatever reasons, they just, we didn't do that. Now, again, I am mostly sure that it's going to lead itself into Miami Sweet Heat being the culprits, but then you got to go to the proof. The proof that is used is what we talked about at the beginning of the episode. It's just them walking down the hallway and then you see some guy run past them. There's nothing rock solid about that whatsoever. It's not like this is just irrefutable evidence. See, here you go. We see you lighting the match, or we see you dropping this into the bucket with their clothes. It's not like any of that's happening. They're literally just walking down the hall giggling at each other. That could have been anything. But, of course, in the wild land, that's all the proof you need, I guess. I don't know. Is that these storylines. These storylines are just so infuriating. Why can't they just do something smoothly? Why can they not? But there's at least a ray of hope after this somewhere, so let's continue on. Next segment, Lana Star, Miami Sweet Heat. They come out to commentary. Lana disputes the claim that they started the fire. I wrote good on Lana. Whether she did it or not, or whether they did it or not, it's still good that she denied it as a heel. And more so than that, as I said, if that is all the proof that they've got, I would never admit to that. It's like if all you got on me is that you saw me walking down the hallway in a building that's probably got multiple people walking down this hallway, no, I'm not admitting to that. So Lana provides a reason as to why they're at ringside for the match, which was essentially to make sure that McClain does not say anything that's different, defamatory to them. And McClain says the main event will be on fire. And that became a running theme of the match. I was like, and in hindsight, I should have known. I got this blaze and fire and, the heat and whatever. Those puns just one too many times. I was like, God damn it, I should have known what was coming. Or that something was coming that was going to be relative to that. So, they come out. They decide to sit at ringside. They being Miami Sweet Heat and Lana Starr. And of course, because Lana's out there and she's holding conversation with David McClain, he has to get up and talk about, we got you. You were in the vicinity. I'm like, well, so what? I'm sure there was several people in the vicinity. And what is the vicinity that you're speaking of? I'm like, is that a couple of feet? Is that a few yards? Is that the next room over? That the hallway? I mean, what? Anyhow, same wild spot comes up next. Same comments as before. Scrambled eggs. Segment after that is next week promo or preview featuring Penelope Pink taking on Kalaki, the Island Girl. Now, I'd have absolutely no problems with this match. My only, I can't really say complaint. It's one of those, I wish they had done what I had suggested when she got there to begin with. That she, Kalaki, the Island Girl, one, I wouldn't have changed her name. She could have just stayed Tracy Taylor. That's where she's been all over the Indies. And two, I would have had her be my in-house legend. If I could not have Jungle Girl, which is not there, at least not currently. If I couldn't have her be the resident legend of that place, then I got to make another one. Taylor is as good as any. She's been in the business for over 20 years. It's not like you cannot back it up. There's footage out there to show that, including on my channel. If she had that walking into this, it might have given the match a little bit more gravitas. But as it is, with Penelope Pink versus Kalaki, I feel the same way that I did when she was going against Gabriella Cruz. I think the match will be fine. It should be entertaining for what it is. But at the end of the day, I don't have any sort of thoughts that Kalaki is going to pull this off. That she's going to turn around and become the wild champion all of a sudden. And that's nothing against her. She hasn't been presented as this. She hasn't been presented as a top name. Not there. She could have been, but she hasn't been. And so it makes me feel like, all right, well, it's just a match. And as a side note, that kind of goes back to something I said a couple of podcast episodes ago. It's like, it is not necessarily a horrible thing, but it does feel like the champions in this company right now, at least, I'm specifying right now, are kind of just on the periphery of other things and other people's stuff. Like Monsters and Metal are not doing anything. They showed up, they had a match with the Enlightened, but they're not in a feud with the Enlightened. They don't have anything going on with the Enlightened. They just, we got a 6-person tag and, trios tag, and that's it. Penelope Pink, same thing. She doesn't really have a feud with anyone, much less Kalaki, but she's there and she has to defend the championship. She's just not locked into anything specific. Miami Sweet Heat sound like they're coming out of that a little. Up until this point, though, they had been just catalyst for the Dojo Defenders. The champions right now, and I guess seemingly this season, have not really had a bunch of stuff to do. And they've had the matches. Let me be clear. And I'm not saying they didn't have the matches. I'm not saying they didn't work hard or whatever the case may be. It just didn't seem like they have any sort of angle or story. Now, do they need one? No, not really. I mean, they've kind of dominated that. So, sure, give somebody else a chance. It's just kind of odd that all three of them are more or less in the same position. Next segment is the main event. Ashley Blaze, Tara Strike versus the team of Kalaki and Sandy Shore, Best for Business. Which I'm assuming that they would have changed their name or something, by now, but maybe they'll get to it. Kai and Shore come out first in their new outfits, which is the all red deal. Dave McClain says red and the diamonds are sold in. I'm like, yeah, okay, I like it. Look, there's certain things I could believe, but I absolutely do not believe they have diamonds sold in those outfits. That just, no, that's not going to happen. Zayn talks about how Strike and Blaze are mad, and at least they acted as such. They didn't come out and start posing and doing dojo stances and flexing each other and smiling. They came down there like they had a mission. Like we're upset and we want to fight about it. And this starts off as a brawl. Zayn says that Blaze and Strike had their title match won, if not for Best for Business. I wrote down what match was he watching, because that ain't the way that I remember it. What I do remember is that Best for Business intervened in the match. Like, how on earth could you say they had this match won? They were both of them were locked in a simultaneous full Nelsons on the floor, which I'd never seen Miami Sweet Heat do, and I still think that spot was ridiculous and pretty much telegraphed everything that was about to happen. But at no point in that little segment of time did they look like they was in full control and a win was about to happen. They weren't even in the ring. They was on the floor. So I don't know what exactly he's talking about. Like, oh, they had this thing won. How? How exactly did they have this win? What match did you see that I didn't? But I will say this. They look good. Cannot knock that. The Best for Business look good. They're smooth. They look more like twins than the actual twins do if you back far enough. About the same height, similar build, similar hairstyle. If you're just taking a quick glance, and they don't have any real differences in their outfit. They're pretty much the same outfit. At first glance, you might not know who's who just at the, a quick look at the screen. You know what I mean? The heat in this match is on Tara Strike. And like I said, Best for Business was very smooth here. As a heel team, I enjoy them. I am, selfishly kind of upset that they're going to leapfrog over a couple other teams to the position that they got, but that's that's neither here nor there. Like I said, I can completely admit that's a selfish thought that I had with that. I would have liked, say, the Brat Pack to be in that position, but I think that ship has sailed. Especially now, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think they're going to come anywhere near a tag team title shot. Whereas Best for Business will probably be the champions in 3 months or less. The way that they're looking. Maybe the next episode will change my mind. But as of right now, looking at them here and how this all finished up, it would not shock me if they won the tag team championships. McClain is making sure to beat the team name in. They are best for business. Best for business. You know, he's making sure that you know it. Blaze gets the hot tag. And Zane. Sorry. Zane brings up that Blaze and Strike almost had the titles won again. I don't know why. And I wrote down, this must have been a cue. Because after that, that's when Fab Four Miami Heat, Sweet Heat get up with fire extinguishers, these tiny fire extinguishers behind their backs. And for whatever reasons, in the middle of this match with two people that they are hated, you know, upset with, and allegedly have some strong feelings for, I don't know if I can say hate, because, you know, WoW doesn't really go that far. But for the purpose of this, I'll say it. That leaving these two people that they hate, they go outside the ring to confront them. And then they pay for it. They get smacked in the stomach with these fire extinguishers and sent back in. The Heat hit the baby faces with the extinguishers, and best for business, pin Blaze for the win. So the debut of the team, not the debut of them individually, but the debut of the team succeeded. Bravo. And I would imagine that the baby faces would now have to work hard to try to get their revenge. After this, Lindsay gets on the mic and confronts Best for Business. Or B4B. Whatever. Lindsay's good here. This is becoming a strong suit for her, that she is comfortable on the mic and probably better to deliver out of the three. Not that everyone's bad. She's probably just the best option. Gloria can stand there and look cool. So, and Lana could just kind of absorb the environment. So she cut a promo on there. She's doing what she does, which is normal these days. Like I said, a good promo, and she's essentially telling them, "Hey, look, you know, they had nothing to do with the fire, but if they did, you should be thanking us." That's more or less what that came down to in, you know, so many words. And I like the way that she delivered it. It's like, we didn't have anything to do with it, but if we did, you know, the kind of like that. So you got that pushed off. They have their little verbal confrontation, and Miami Sweet Heat attempts to end that or punctuate it by showing them who the top dogs are, and let's show them, Laura, who the champions are. They take their belts off and they hold it up so that the new heel team can see it. But then they made the mistake as they turn. I don't know why they decided to turn towards the rampway and hold the belt up, but they did. So they turn and they hold the belts up, and then they get attacked. And Shore and Kai, once they dispose of Miami Sweet Heat, stand in the ring and hold the belts for a moment. I like, okay, are they heels or are they babyface? I assume this is just another case of a heel versus heel confrontation, because we have plenty of those. McClain said that the Heat inadvertently caused Blaze and Strike. I was like, what's inadvertent about it? Isn't that pretty blatant? I mean, it's not like they mistakenly hit Blaze and Strike with fire extinguishers. They did it on purpose. So what exactly here was inadvertent? I don't know, man. You know, I don't try to find these things with McClain. It just makes it very easy for me. And that's an easy one. It's like inadvertent. I don't think that's the word that you were looking for. But, you know, What do I know? And the other surprising thing is that Sandy Shore actually got the pin. How about that? She went from being the resident loser of WoW to after 4 years, she's finally got some speed and there was something underneath her that she can win a match. And that was that. I mean, it wasn't a terrible show, but it, again, you know, angles, storylines, we always wind up kind of in the same spot. Why did you do this thing? What was that for? Why are they having this thing happen to this person for this reason? It's always that. And I've just come to accept it now. I don't think it's ever going to get any better. I think that the ladies that are there are making the best out of this as they can do. Because there's several points amongst multiple storylines where it's just like, if you took this out, would it really change anything? And that's why I get here. It's like, if you took this thing out, would it really change anything? So B4B seems like they're at least going to challenge for the titles, you know, at some point in the, I guess, the near future. However, my real overall assumption is that I guess is going to lead into some triangle match, three-way dance, whatever you want to call it, where all of them can be in the ring and Miami Sweet Heat can lose the titles for their, I guess, their fifth time, and Best for Business can win the titles without having defeated the actual champions. That's what I feel like this is en route of. Now, if it takes a turn, or if it does the opposite of that, I mean, oh well. Opposite being Miami Sweet Heat still outside of the pinfall equation, but it's the babyfaces that win. Strike and Blaze. But time will tell. This show is really, really, really short on quality babyfaces. Or babyfaces that they have placed in the position that they can help carry the show. This is all heels. I don't know. I really don't know. What happened to everybody? I mean, I know there are some circumstances and situations that cannot be rectified, or, you know, life changes that take place with others. Tomorrow's having a baby. Americana's having a baby. Some of them just left. I see that J-Rod's on American Gladiators. She's also a Savannah Banana, apparently. I think I just saw her on social media running around the baseball field in some outfit and whatnot. I mean, so she's getting a lot of stuff done. She could have been a great talent for her. I'm not going to say this past as I'm going to say it present. She has a great look. And the Ultimate Athlete thing is fantastic. I don't know why they decided to louse that up and, it's Nikki Nashville. I mean, I don't know why they decided to do that. When they could have at least gotten her for who she is and what she is now. But that was their choice. Anyhow, the point being is that it's not surprising to me that WoW was taking the path that WoW has taken. It just seems like this is what they do. Anyhow, now that we got through that, what is next for WoW and its upcoming episode? Well, this also, despite the fact that I have some leeway into when this is uploaded, it is also possible that you may have seen this by the time you hear it. So this is me checking this in for, myself, just to see what matches I have waiting around the corner. We already know one because of the preview or the next week on Wild segment. But what else do we got? So here is the preview of the upcoming episode. The title, The VIPs Are Back. I'm sure we all know what that means. The VIPs are back. This is season 4, episode 31 or 431. And it reads as follows. The paparazzi are scrambling because the VIPs are back. Abilene Maverick and Paola Mayfield, the Colombian GOAT, return to WoW, and everyone wants to know what they have to say. What? I'm sorry. Why would everybody want to know what they have to say about what? If they haven't been there, so what? Anyhow, all right, let me not get sidetracked. All right. Everyone wants to know what they have to say. The action kicks off as Genesis and Drusilla Blade take on. Did I say and? No. All right. Let me reread that. Sorry, folks. The action kicks off as Genesis with Drusilla Blade take on the Brazilian high fly Gabriel Cruz, joined by Little J Boogie, whose dance moves and good vibes bring the crowd to their feet. I'm surprised they didn't say my dance moves and grooves. Anyhow. And in the main event, Kalaki the Island Girl earns her first Wild World Championship match, challenging champion Penelope Pink. Will Kalaki bring the gold back to her island with pride, or will Penelope Pink shatter the dream and prove that the pink reign is here to stay? Well, this appears to be a 2-match show. What's that? Yeah, Genesis versus Cruz and Pink and Kalaki. So I expect just a shitload of filler. Maybe we'll get some interviews in that. That'll help push something along. But that's what I expect. I expect a bunch of filler. As far as the match or the championship match, I don't think that's going to be any big secret. Penelope Pink should be retaining her championship. I am going to assume Genesis goes over on Cruz. But again, it's also a case of what else can Genesis do? I mean, see, it seems like they want to keep her in the main event mix, or at least where she could pop back in it if necessary. So I can't imagine that a loss here would be useful for that. Cruz, I think that she could survive it. But because Genesis has carried on and on and on and on and on, I should be the champion. I've been exiled from the main event and all that other nonsense that she likes to say. Because of that, I think that the win is, more valuable to her. But that's just opinion. So there we have it. Again, not a deep episode, but I guess nice enough. Still has its holes. Still has, a couple of things to be desired. The Enlightened, for instance, losing that match. I still maintain that after seeing them having lost to Diesel and Kalaki and now having lost to Monsters and Metal, where is the heat that I'm supposed to have to want to see them lose to Santana Garrett? The job's already been done. That is one of those things that, I'm probably just never going to get off of them. I don't think they'll ever have a satisfactory explanation. Xena Phoenix. I would love to know if that's going to go somewhere with, the old hurt leg, considering that it is 2 matches, which probably means that it's going to be anywhere between 30 to 35 minutes worth of talk and backstage segments. Perhaps, maybe they'll insert something to explain how she got hurt, because without that, I'm like, why did she just hobble out here? And then we get no explanation of what this is that's doing it, what that did it, that caused it. Did she trip and fall? Did she work out too hard? Did somebody clip her and she didn't see it? You know, one of those things. Or something else. And then, of course, the match ended quick, but of course the main event, that was probably the best match of the show. Because it got a chance to showcase their new heel team. And not for nothing, I've already said it about the two of them. It may not be the best thing for a while. I mean, despite what the shirts say, we're best for business. Your ratings just went up. Despite that, because that's normal heel shtick. But once you get past that, this is good for them. Those two. Shore in particular. Because at least Kai got some level of wins and what have you. But yet Shore in particular, this is probably the best thing for her in that company. That she gets the chance to now be a heel and actually win. So there you go. Good for her. That she managed to make that happen. But I'll be tuning in. We'll see exactly where this goes and whether it can surprise me or take a new path or what have you. Time will tell. Thank everybody for taking the time to listen to this program. I know you got plenty of places to be. If I could do the old Jay-Z line, you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. Thank you. If you are checking us out on YouTube, then please do the YouTube things, like, share, and subscribe. If you are checking us out in audio format and podcasts, just be aware we are on the greater podcast platforms everywhere. So you can always check us out on what your favorite podcast platform happens to be and download us that way. Generally, I always put the chapter markers in on Podbean. I don't know if those chapter markers translate once you're outside of that. But if you're looking for the locations where you can just kind of skip to one chapter to the next, YouTube and Podbean, those are ones that I can actually verify. If anybody knows any podcast different and they say, yeah, you could just shoot me a message. So yeah, you got that, and of course, you got the archives of this podcast on our website, WPNWrestling.com, and of course, the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week stream. And mine's is still up; it's still there. But again, maybe I care for mine to be up a little bit more. I don't know. We will see if Wild decides to just bring it back. Their little 24-hour channel out of spite because I said something about it. And if they do, then I will say, you know what, my spite, if it motivated you to do this and do something right, then you're welcome. God damn it. I feel better now. So, in closing, and until the next episode, this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we'll see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.